Why is it that so many people nowadays feel the need to be that 20-year-old millionaire? I know this might sound a little bit contrary to my normal way of speaking, because anyone that watches my content knows that I'm very money, ambition driven, wanting to have a big life kind of a thing. But I have to check myself a lot of the times, and I'm like, dude, you're only 22. Like, chill out. It's not like you have to have it all figured out right now. And like any guy, I think one of my other goals is to put on weight and become muscular, and so that people will like me. But even as I say that, it's like, dude, that's ridiculous. Like, well, why is that actually that important to you? And I remind myself that while there are people that are younger than me that are much more muscular, or maybe tracked their calories a lot better than I did, it's not like you have to have this done today. You know, there are 30, 40-year-olds who still have not started careers, or they're still not at the level of success that they thought they might be. And in that regard, you might want to reevaluate what you're doing with your life if you're still struggling. But again, man, there are people like Oprah Winfrey or J.K. Rowling, and these people that we now associate them as billionaires, very successful people in the world, but they did not hit the jackpot, so to speak. They did not become successful for decades. It is not going to happen overnight, if at all. And I have to remind myself that there are very real challenges to what I am doing. At this point, I'm pretty much set on the type of content that I'm doing is me talking to you in front of a camera. I feel like that's the most authentic, it's the most genuine version of me. But the downside of doing that, and it's a massive downside, is that no one gives a shit about you when you start out. So it's going to take hundreds, if not thousands of hours of content before people start to actually care. And they're like, okay, I will click on whatever this guy posts because I see that his face is in the thumbnail. I know who he is. Like, you'll click on any video that Charlie Penguin Zero puts out because you know it's him. You know he's funny. You know that you're gonna like whatever he has to say. With my decision of doing my content this way, why the hell would I expect to be successful instantly? And maybe it's gonna take like 3 years before it really starts to catch on. And I have to be okay with that because that's the path that I've chosen. And also, if for no other reason, then why would you want to have your life figured out at such a young age? I'm probably, a quarter through my life at this point. And if I was done, essentially, like I had all my money problems sorted out today, but then what am I going to do with the next 60 years? By completing your goal or whatever it is that you're working on, you are inevitably going to find a new thing to want. Because I think in a way that's the meaning of life. It's to find things to do. Because if you have nothing to do, then you're just gonna wither away, pretty much, both mentally and physically. So would I want to be a millionaire today? In some regards, it would be nice, but it's like, would you want to win the lottery? I think on the surface, it sounds incredible, but deep down, it's probably one of the most destructive things you could possibly have happen to you, because you have essentially removed all of your mountains to climb. Because most people, I think, they're limited by money. They're limited by tangible resources in their lives, like their time and their money. And once you have solved that, you are then forced to turn to far less tangible challenges to tackle, which maybe is like, why am I on this earth? What makes me happy? What keeps me busy? And for me, much of my happiness and focus in life is tied to wanting a career. It's wanting to build something. If it's already done by 22 or something, what else are you gonna do, I feel like the happiest people in the world probably are the ones that never solved their problems, and they always were moving towards something. And in a way, having children helps a lot with that, I imagine. Because once you've reached your 30s, you've had this decade of your 20s to do whatever you want with very little obligation, then you're probably starting to look for the next chapter. Right? And around 30 is when people usually have children. And then children, I bet have a ton of things to keep track of and challenges to tackle and all this kind of stuff, right? And I know it's definitely true with my mom, where given that both my sister and I are now out of the house and she is mid to late 50s looking for the next thing to do with her life, it's like, what do I do? This is fundamentally the human conundrum, because we are wired to always explore and always do the next thing that we can find. Like I've mentioned before, we're trying to go to Mars now. Like, is that not ridiculous? But it's just in our DNA to want to find the next thing to do. And I think a lot about Mr. Beast too, because he's, I think, 25 now, maybe 26. And I'm pretty sure his company at this point is worth about $1 billion. And he turned it down because he's like, no, I can do way more stuff. I can always be upping the content, upping the ante. And I absolutely respect that grind, that ambition. But I know that people have asked him on podcasts, like, dude, you can't do this forever. you are going to have to find something else to do. And I imagine in his position, being essentially a 25-year-old billionaire, like that must be a really weird problem to have. I say problem, it sounds ridiculous and it sounds like people would be envious of his position. But think about it. He has all of his life ahead of him, yet all of his tangible problems like money, time, resources have been solved. So he's probably left to philosophize and think about deeper problems that maybe don't have really concrete answers to them. And I don't want to speak for him or anyone that is hyper successful at such a young age, but I do feel like that would be a little bit depressing because you have nothing left that you have to do. Everything at this point is optional. It's all side quests, right? And it would be nice, I can't say that I would turn down $1 billion, but I feel like what keeps you happy is the unknown and not knowing what the next problem or mountain is going to be. Just slow down, man. You don't have to have it figured out at 20 years old or something crazy, You have a whole life ahead of you. So, I'll catch you later.